We are on a little island called Omishima, part of an island chain that's connected by a series of suspension bridges from Hiroshima Prefecture to Ehime Prefecture. There are currently an estimated 10 to 12 million vacant houses in Japan. There's a lot, and we have 2 of them.
Are wasps attacking your bees right now?
Oh, wasps are attacking our bees right now, yeah.
That's the most we've ever seen. Oh my goodness.
Wow, that's a beautiful flower.
Yeah.
Delicious too.
They're basically the same as a green bean.
It's different though. I've never seen it where it has these little antenna things.
Yeah, smell your fingernails.
Whoa. Yeah. What the heck?
How did you end up here? You guys are Americans, but you're in Japan, you own property.
Good question. I ask myself that every day. Evan Benton, this is my wife, Dani. We're from Oregon originally. We're both from the same small town. I came here in high school, so that was my first experience here in Japan. I came here with the high school band. I studied Japanese in college, and then I came here to teach English, and I just loved it. As soon as I left, I felt like I was making a terrible mistake, but so I came back to the United States, immediately tried to get back, but the window had kind of closed. Fast forward about a decade, we were thinking about moving.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to move to the countryside, and we just thought, hey, for starters, why limit ourselves to the United States? Why not look at some other countries? So we started with Mexico because we could drive there, but we were always targeting Japan since I had experience. So yeah, we lived in Mexico for a while, and we finally ended up here. Yeah, so these are Robinson Crusoe looking trellises that I've been building from just the bamboo in the area. And we got the 2 on the outside are tomatoes, and the one on the inside is tomatillos.
Where'd you get the bamboo from?
Just a grove up on the hill.
A grove up here for the narrow stuff. It's 2 species. I don't know what they are, but it's the slender stuff that I'm using for the horizontal members just came from over here. And then all the bigger stuff came from our bee yard that we're leasing.
And you're just allowed to go take it? Nobody cares?
They appreciate
They love it because it's taken over. I mean, up here, you can see that it takes over the orchards, the former orchards.
There's other people sort of thinning it out, but not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Our neighbor said that everyone used to go up there and harvest the bamboo for their own garden.
So that's what I like about this. This is kind of one of my themes for farming is this is all using organic matter, right? So everything, once this will probably last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and then it just goes and gets composted or turned into biochar. So that's a goal, is just to use as much organic matter as possible and to keep building up biomass. But it's also giving us a reason to go out into the mountains and take care of that stuff, These bamboo thickets need to be managed in order to produce a usable, like caliber. Basically what we're dealing with, the ecosystem has just been unmanaged for about 50 years, and we've got wild dogs here. The Suzumebachi, the murder hornets that are, I guess they found in Washington State. Those are a specialist predator on honeybee. They're the giant hornets. And those, it turns out, they nest in underground and in like piles, like wood piles and things like that.
Leaf debris.
And so when you aren't managing the woods like that, you're basically creating habitat for those guys. So it needs to be done. And in Japan, there's a tradition of the word is satoyama, which means village and mountain, like a permaculture idea of managing the boundaries, between your managed plots and then the woodlands, and the marginal zones is, where the real fertility lives, right? So you're going out and collecting firewood and herbs and mushrooms and all that.
Yeah, your soils look really sandy.
Really sandy.
We're by the beach right now, right?
Yeah.
The whole island is going to be sandy. This is a former rice paddy, so the drainage is really bad. Another challenge we face is there's not a lot of truck access for most of the stuff here.
What are these beans?
Long beans. This is a little big. That's probably pretty good, but they're basically the same as a green bean, and yeah, they're great. They're super fruitful, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Which I think the reason is because the beans are born on this little structure that it pops out 2 beans and then just keeps popping out beans, like a raceme, I think it's called. So you have to be careful when you pick them not to damage that, because that's where your beans come from. But these are super productive. We grew those in Louisiana. Here's the flowers on those. I actually really love these plants. Pollinators like them. You get a lot of aphids on them, you know, which then attracts the ladybugs in and other pests. And they're just such a vigorous plant. You can see some of them don't make it, but for the most part, they're such a vigorous plant that they don't mind that.
Yeah, I like it's creating a lot of shade too, and then you're growing some parsley in here. It looks like.
Yeah, parsley, and we've harvested that once. We could probably get another harvest before it bolts.
It's like a tomato hornworm almost.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
probably.
It's different. It's different though. I've never seen it where it has these little
Oh,
those antenna things.
yeah, smell your fingernails.
oh, yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What the heck? My fingers stink. Like smells like a. I don't know what to call that, but it kind of stinky.
Unpleasant. Yeah.
Weird. What a strange bug.
Oh.
Well, yeah, that's the design, you know, is
Yeah.
having these to create shade, and then in between, I planted 2 rows of tomatoes and 1 row of tomatillos because tomatoes I think are more popular. And then in between, I had the, you know, for the pest control, the marigolds and herbs was the other option I thought I would have, and get a little synergy with the herbs attracting beneficial insects. The marigolds, I can tell you, they worked really great here because I had a ton of pest damage on my tomatillos, and this year none so far. We also had a lot of crows on the tomatoes.
I've heard they're a pretty bad pest here, the crow.
Yeah, well, I learned that you can pick the tomatoes a little green, and then I started doing that, and it seemed like they kind of forgot about it, you know.
And then there's all this citrus in here. What kind of citrus is that?
These are lemons, but there's so many varieties grown on the island that if you go to the farmer's market, they'll actually they have a sheet front and back that has pictures of and names of all of them. So there's just probably 100 different heirloom varieties.
Like stuff we've never tried before.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is a young guy who's renting
Oh.
this orchard.
Mm-hmm.
He Seaboy's Farm is his Instagram. He's a cool dude, and you know, he escaped the Tokyo grind to come here to Omishima to be a citrus farmer.
That's really cool. So there is some younger people.
There are quite a few younger people on this island specifically. A lot of the younger farmers that we meet on Omishima are also into the more natural farming. So.
Yeah, he's not using pesticides.
And just to give a little overview of our area, since your viewers won't know exactly where Omishima Island is, we're in the middle of a chain of islands in the Seto Sea, and there's a series of suspension bridges that run from Hiroshima Prefecture to the north to Ehime Prefecture to the south. That's another main reason that we chose this place, is because there's a constant stream of tourists, both Japanese and foreign, because the bridges are a huge bicycling destination. It's actually known worldwide.
And it's the only island in the chain that has a high enough water table that literally every house has a well here. This is good. Our neighbor planted this. Just a bare root pumpkin. She just pulled it out of her yard and said, "You need this," and stuck it right there, and just piled some straw on top of it. That was the beginning of the rainy season, so anything you put in the ground just works. But
yeah, she's a great neighbor.
Yeah, about ready.
Cool.
Not huge.
This is her setup here. So last year, this whole thing was filled with this, they call it, is it ohana okra?
Hana okra, yeah.
Ohana okra. So it's actually the flowers that are the edible part.
Oh. Wow, that's a beautiful flower.
Yeah.
Delicious too.
Really? How do you eat it? Just
Just
raw?
salad or tempura too, I guess. But it's only gonna last 1 day. So
Wow.
she said we can use all of this as long as we grow some Hana okra for her. She'll be happy.
Yeah. We're probably not going to be doing any expanding, but we just sort of weed whack this for her and help out where we can. But last year, this whole field was these flowers. So it was really beautiful.
Has it been kind of cool to meet your neighbors, and they've been pretty hospitable, and
Absolutely.
that, you know, the fact that you're foreigners
Yeah.
trying to do all this, you know, different stuff.
Yeah, everyone here is just super welcoming and helpful. When we first got here and they realized that we were like living in this abandoned house while we remodeled, they would come like bring us dinner and food. And this neighbor gave Evan this shirt. She was trying to,
Cool shirt.
yeah.
Wow.
So she's like started clearing out her house and like bringing us things, and they're they're awesome. And so we try to
Fantastic.
reciprocate. Her and Evan are always gardening together, and I do weed whacking where we can, and just help the community a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's like a real village community kind of thing going on here. That's just is that more like a natural thing that would go on in Japan?
I
in
would
the
think
villages?
so. I mean, you hear about places where people say, oh, you know, I tried to buy a house in a remote village and they were really like not open to foreigners. We have not experienced that at all. So we've sort of, you know, in the year and a half that we've been here, we've had a lot of conversations like, why is that? I think a big part is Evan's language ability. But also I think it's because of the flow of tourists. We have the countryside feel, the rural feel, but we're not super remote.
And like outsiders come in all the time, so it's not like this feeling of
Yeah, they're used to seeing them at the convenience store riding their bicycles, you know, so it's not like we're 2 hours from anything up in the mountains.
I noticed when I first was here teaching English that if you're a foreigner, I think probably anywhere in the world, you know, you're not really like in America, the Republican Democrats kind of thing. They can just kind of project whatever they want onto us. You know, we're a blank slate. So yeah, we're coming in and they don't have any preconceived notions about us.
So yeah, why do you have this fence all set up?
Well, we've got a massive boar problem on the island.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, this is a boar fence.
Are wasps attacking your bees right now?
Oh, wasps are attacking our bees right now.
God, yeah.
Wow.
You didn't bring the fly swatter, did you?
Nope.
Oh no,
Wow, we just came upon a
guys.
situation. Are those
This
hornets?
is this is a problem.
I guess I'll go back and get the fly swatter.
And your bee suit.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know if you see one hovering around me that
I will, Evie. I got eyes on you. Oh God, you got sandals on, Evan? Oh my God. He's coming. We have multiple different kinds of giant hornets on the island. Those were the biggest kind, called Suzumibachi. We've seen 1 or 2 attacking the colonies up until now. Evan just got one of the medium ones.
Oh,
They're less of a threat. Our honeybee mentor told us that he doesn't put his hornet traps onto his hives to protect them until about September, and we are early August right now, but we're going to get Evan in the honeybee workshop sooner rather than later building our traps. And what it is it's a cage that goes on the front of the colony. It's sort of L-shaped, and it allows the honeybees to go in and out, but the hornets can go in, but then they can't come out. So they go in there and then they starve and die. Now, last year, we had 1 colony. So this is very new to us still, learning about the hornet protection. What we've been told is that if you see a giant hornet in the springtime, early in the year, if you kill it at that time, it's almost certainly a queen. And so you're killing a whole colony. And then, so what happens, the life cycle for these guys is that everyone except the queen dies off around wintertime. The queen overwinters. And so that's why as spring and summer progresses, the numbers very slowly increase. And then they're the worst threat in the fall. But this is awful. This is awful.
And what just happened? Like, what are they? It's a bunch of dead bees.
Yeah, so the giant ones here, they don't eat these bees. These bees are writhing in pain on the ground because they've either been beheaded or they've had a big bite taken out of them. The mission of these fellows is to murder the entire colony. They don't eat the bees, they eat the larvae. So after they wipe out all of the bees protecting the larvae, then they go in and they harvest the larvae and take them back to their nest for their babies to eat. So, you know, the medium hornets are not as much of a threat. They do actually eat a bee if they catch it. So you can see the medium ones buzzing around and they might pick off a bee or 2 and it's not as much of a problem. But the giant ones, their motive is to kill the entire colony.
So what are some of the differences in raising bees here in Japan versus back home? You said in Louisiana you raised them?
So the European honeybee was brought to Japan in around the 1850s from the United States. So that's why they're using the Langstroth equipment, the same equipment they use in the United States. It's a little bit different. As you can see, it's got the vent on the front, and it's got this little lip that the next box goes on top of. They only use standard deeps, which is very different, right?
Yeah.
So in the United States, what I learned is you would have 2 brood boxes and then usually shallows on top of that as far as you want to go.
And that's where you collect the honey.
That's right. Basically, the colonies don't get as big here for various reasons. European honeybees don't do as well in Japan. It's a lot more challenging. The reasons that it's harder, as I can figure, are number one, it's the topography. Japan is so mountainous that European honeybees are a real specialist feeder, and they want to find a big patch of whatever it is that is blooming at that time, and they're really going to, it's something like 80% of the honey is going to be from that plant, versus the Japanese honeybees just kind of go all over and they go for whatever. So there's not as many big patches of stuff blooming like you'd find in a continent where you've got big patches, big plains, and Louisiana's got swamps, and there's just always something blooming. And the number 2 reason is the Suzume bachi, the giant hornet. And then beyond that, pesticide use is huge in Japan. The biggest, I think, pesticide residue in food is what I was reading the metric was recently. So, yeah.
In the world, yeah.
In the world. So our bees, the biggest crop for them is citrus. And that's the biggest advantage probably versus the Japanese honeybees is you're not going to be able to get a pure citrus honey. It's going to have that wonderful aroma with Japanese bees. So that's our big crop is citrus. We also get a smaller sakura crop before that, actually, depending on the conditions, because that needs some humidity in the morning.
One of my favorite Japanese words. So my language ability is still very small, but all the neighbors get a chuckle when I say bochi bochi, which means little by little or step by step. So they just see us like working all the time and comment on, oh, how things are going. And you just say bochi bochi, like one step at a time. And so with everything we're setting up here, you know, I think I said earlier, our first whole year was focused on the guest house. And that's primarily for our visa. The reason that we're allowed to stay here is having our small business. So the first year was the guest house. The second year has been the bees. I think next year we're also really going to be focusing on the bees. And then the farming is just a bonus, really. Yeah. You know, anything that we get is either geared towards, it's going to look good on our visa renewal application. It also gets us connections in the community, being in the farmer's market and being visible like that at a really high traffic market. I think the farming focus is going to shift towards supporting the bees. And our bee mentor is interested in that too. So he says, yeah, whatever works for you. If the soba works for your bees, great. He'll start planning it too, because he's an ex-farmer turned full-time beekeeper. So if we find something that works, he's going to do it too. And so that'll just help all the bees on the island. Our business plan that we've been working with our immigration lawyer, our plan all along is for honey to be our main
income source.
Yes.
Besides the guest house.
Yes. Well, the guest house, we think that honey at some point will surpass that. That we started with the guest house because honey is such a slow start. Right. So the guest house, once it's listed, you know, we're getting good income from that to show the Japanese government that we have a viable income source. And then long term, our goal is agritourism and to get people here doing farm stays. But we're a long ways from that. Yeah.
We're coming at it from the typical kind of homesteader, DIY, do everything yourself, grow your own food type of a mindset. And the reason we chose honeybees is they were our favorite thing. You know, we did so many different things, and honeybees were the favorite. And, you know, Japan is very specialized type of a culture. Yeah. So we had to specialize in something, and we picked honeybees. And now that we're here, we're realizing honeybees are a lot harder. So, and more profitable, really. So, you know, that's causing us to focus more on that. And then to meet the needs of the community is providing jobs, I think.
There's a very small percentage of honey consumed in Japan is actually made in Japan. I don't remember the exact number offhand, but I think it's less than 10%. So this is an example of what a few decades ago you would have seen all over this island. You can see this is a terraced citrus grove, and this is a monorail system that they use to help harvest on the steep terraces. So this, I'm sure, is designed to fit those plastic crates perfectly. So they'd go up and harvest and put it in the crates, and then the citrus would come down on its little chute. But you can find these everywhere. They don't seem to really use them anymore. So a lot of the old citrus groves, here's an overgrown citrus tree right here.
And you guys were saying that the mountains all around here was citrus.
Yeah.
But because of population decline, I guess there's just not enough farmers, so it just all got overtaken.
Yeah, they slowly just sort of abandoned the ones that were higher up on the mountains and just sort of moved down and farmed closer to the houses. So I'm only really familiar with the history of our island, and the maximum population was 24,000 in the 1960s, and now it's 4,000. So you're talking 60 years, and the mountains look like they've always been wild, but at one point they were completely terraced.
So this little plot came with your house?
Yeah.
This will be farming in our chicken yard.
The front part is residential and the back part is agricultural. So there was a inheritance issue when we bought it, and they said they couldn't possibly track down everyone who was like a part owner of this lot. So they just wrote it into our sale contract that we just can use this land in perpetuity. Something that's probably going to come up, a lot with anyone buying land in Japanese countryside.
Yeah, the way that it works, I don't understand it completely. They said there was something like 10 people who were not part owner, but they had like a partial right to the land. And so the man who sold us the house is in his early 80s. And he assured us that no one else wanted that land for sure. But the way that the sale process works here, they would have to track down the children of each one of those people and get their stamp.
Oh my goodness.
And they're all over Japan.
That's a process.
It's a huge process. So they asked us if it was okay. And he actually, because of that hiccup, he offered to lower the price a little bit. Even though we're perfectly fine with that, Japan is a very trustworthy country.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's going to try and come take that land back later.
But how honest to offer to lower the price just in case in the future.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so this is our workshop here. This is one of the only parts of our house, or the second abandoned house, that we've been working on remodeling.
This building right here, this is your house too. This whole thing, and then this is attached.
Mm-hmm.
One of the only parts of our house that we're willing to show you.
Yeah, it's a former inn built in 1940 and has been abandoned for 40 years. And for 20 of those years, it was only inhabited by one elderly woman. Much of the house had been unused for about 60 years. This is a non-historic, non-original structure. This was added at some point significantly after 1940. It's just a cinder block structure garage.